Hey guys, as Eric Grzybowski would say, bonus training. So I am very glad you decided to take our VIP package, and let me start you off with some really good stuff here. So, obviously our objective is to go get as many customers as we can. Our objective is to build as big of a team as we can, recruit as many people, and get them to duplicate and be able to do this without us. So I want to share some key things here with you that I think will really serve you in a way that we maybe won't do, of course, during the course of the regular United training. So first, I was watching very successful college football coach, and he was talking about why he has had sustained success for over 2 decades at predominantly 3 different universities. And, he was saying how he bumped into some players from his first team, which was probably 20 years ago, and he saw them earlier that day, and he was so excited to see them. They were so excited to see him. He knew who they were married to, knew how many kids they had. And the bottom line is, he said, they weren't just my players for the 3 or 4 years they were at that school. At his current school, over 10 years, he's had remarkable success. And again, he said, when I first started coaching, or when I was in college as a player, the coach said what you did, and the players just did it. It was very much, you do what you're told to do. Is the authority figure says it, and you do it. He goes, now, forget about that. The players have to like you. The players have to trust you. The players have to respect you. And if they don't, there's no way they're going to buy into what you're teaching them. Now, again, I know a lot of you may not be sports fans, but I'm going to give you a great analogy, and I'll explain enough about American football so you understand it. So in American football, there is a guy named Vince Lombardi who is considered the greatest coach of all time. They have the Super Bowl trophy is named the Vince Lombardi Award. Well, over the last decade, 2 decades, this guy came along named Bill Belichick. He's been with the New England Patriots, and he certainly has created the greatest dynasty in football history. If you look over the last 20 years, all the success he and his team have had, there's no doubt they have the best record, the best sustained success, having won, I believe, 6 Super Bowls during that time, but every year being in the playoffs and being a factor. Now, here's what you probably don't know about Bill Belichick. Before he went to the New England Patriots, he was the head coach of a team called the Cleveland Browns. And when he was with the Cleveland Browns, he had the same defense, the same offense, the same game plan, everything exactly the same the way he did it in New England. And as he looks back at it, he was a failure there. He was so bad he actually got fired for having a really bad losing record. And he said the difference was in New England, the players bought into his philosophy, where in Cleveland they never did. But he became a wiser coach, understanding that you can't just demand players buy into your philosophy. I love what the other coach was saying, the college coach. They have to respect you, and you have to earn their respect by consistently being there, by consistently showing them that you are doing your job to the highest level, building loyalty and trust over a long period of time by consistently doing what you're supposed to do. So let me ask you a question. By these standards, how are you doing? Are you building lifelong relationships with your players? Do your players know, the people in your downline, do they know that you care about them far beyond football, far beyond WorldVentures? Or do they think that you just look at them as some hamster on a treadmill who you're always yelling to run faster because that treadmill makes you more money? See, if that's the way your team perceives you, then why should they respect you? Why should they trust you? See, it's not an easy thing to do to build relationships. And here's the thing, it's not on them. It's on you. They're a part of your team. You want to be a leader? Then step up and be a leader. Now, can you build relationships with, if you have 945 people on your team, can you build a one-on-one relationship with all of them? No, you wouldn't have time to go in the bathroom. So what you want to do is you want to build relationships one-on-one with the people who are producing. The expression is you work where you deserved, not where you're needed. But let me clarify that. That doesn't mean if someone's not doing anything, I don't ever speak with them. It means that I spend a lot of time with the majority of my people in groups, on a conference call, on a Zoom meeting, together at a big group get-together at one of our events, going out to a group dinner, to a group whatever. I do a lot of group stuff with most people. But the one-on-one time, the really important time, that's reserved for the people on my team that are in that 20%. You know the 80-20 rule? The 80% of production is done by 20% of people. It's actually called Pareto's Law, and it's true. On a football team, 20% of all the players make 80% of all the money. 20% of all the players on a soccer/football team score 80% of all the goals. It just is the way it is. So instead of fighting it, why don't we understand it's our job to lead by example? How can you get on your downlines back by not sponsoring enough people, not getting enough customers, if you haven't sponsored someone since Bill Clinton was president of the United States, which was a long time ago? You need to sponsor people. You need to go get customers. You need to be on time for all the meetings, all the conference calls. You're the coach. You have to earn the respect. You have to hold yourself to a higher standard than you're holding them to. It's the only way it's going to work, guys. And again, I know a lot of you got into this, and maybe it's because the person who invited you, the person who sponsored you, they probably had a weak posture. Let's blame it on that. And they were like, oh, please sign up, please sign up, please sign up. I'll do anything if you sign up. I'll do everything for you. See, if that's the way you got signed up, you need to flush that down the toilet. You are the one who's going to make you successful here. You know, I always mention my mentor, but if he was standing here side by side with me, all the time I give him credit, he would tell you, you got to be, it wasn't him, it was me. He guided me, he pointed out where to go, but I'm the one who had to walk the path. A lot of you give me your credit for your success. It's not me, it's you. So if it is to be, it's up to me. You want a helping hand? Look at the end of your own wrist. A lot of you guys have heard me say this stuff before. So you've got to be harder on yourself. I've said a million times, the best thing about network marketing is you can do whatever you want whenever you want. Worst thing about network marketing, you do whatever you want, whenever you want. So you become the coolest boss you ever had. You become the easiest coach you ever had. And nothing is going to be great about your business if you don't hold yourself to a high standard. So hold yourself to an incredibly, incredibly high standard. So that's the first thing I want to talk to you. Build relationship with your players and earn their respect by truly leading by example. Meaning you do more presentations, you make more sales, you have more personal new people going to the events than they do. Lead by example. Every company contest, you're at the front of the winners line. You lead by example. Now, let me go in a different direction. Also very important, but just a little bit different. So every once in a blue moon, I'll tell you or train you on something that was a way of life for me back in the day. So I'm going to do it right now. And that's talking about the 4 phases of our business. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. Phase 1 is when you sell and recruit all day long. You do everything. You invite, you prospect, you sell, you do everything all by yourself. Phase 2 is when you manage the people on your team who are in phase 1 and they're selling and recruiting all day long. Phase 3 is where you graduate and get promoted up to where you supervise the people who are in phase 2 who are managing the people who are in phase 1 who are selling and recruiting all day long. And of course, the greatest place everyone strives to be at is phase 4, where you are overseeing the people in phase 3 who are supervising the people who are in phase 2 who are managing the people who are in phase 1 who are actually working. They're selling and recruiting all day long. Now, this is actually a setup if you don't know this. Phase 1 is the only phase you should ever be in. Okay, or let me put it this way. You should spend 80% of your time in phase 1, and I'll give you 20% of your time to be in phase 2 where you're in management mode. I would say the number one biggest mistake people make who get some success. First of all, most people get network marketing have no success. They try it for 7 minutes, it's not easy, and they give up. They're like me when I tried to play guitar. When I was a teenager, I got all fired up. I went to Madison Square Garden. I saw those guys. Oh my gosh. I pestered my parents. They bought me an electric guitar. I started to play it. Wow, it didn't sound like the guys at Madison Square Garden. Secondly, my fingers started to hurt. I got very discouraged very quickly, and I gave up. And to me, that's a classic example how most people are with network marketing. It sounds great when you see someone who's played that guitar for 5 to 10 hours a day for years and years and years. You go to a concert, see them and go, hey, I want to do that, but they want to get the Eddie Van Halen results without putting in the effort. Sorry, it doesn't work that way. So again, most people quit very quickly. I'm talking about the ones who are pretty good at it, the ones who put the energy in, the ones who go to training, the ones who start actually building a team, 30 people, 40 people, 70 people, 120 people. Biggest mistake most people make there is they go from phase 1 to phase 2. They somehow look at the work in phase 1 as the work that's below them. They can't wait to stop doing it. It's almost, now here's again, I've talked about programming a million times. So we talk about Pavlov's dogs, ring the bell, the meat's out, then you take the meat away, you ring the bell, and the dogs still salivate because they've been programmed. Well, by the time you and I graduate high school, we spend 14,000, 15,000 hours in a classroom. We've been programmed. Well, most people have been programmed by their job. How many years have you been in the real world? In the real world, you start off at a low level. When you get a promotion, here's what happens. New title, right? More money, and in many cases, a different job description. You know what happens in network marketing when you get promoted? You get a new title, you get the opportunity to make more money, and you do the same thing. You don't change what you're doing. So if you needed 90 people to get to your first rank, and now all of a sudden you change your title, now you're going to manage those 90 people, you're doomed. 90, but are you kidding me? So we have people in our company, they're not IMD, they're not the highest rank, they're double IMD. They're not double IMD, they're triple IMD. They're not triple IMD, they're quadruple IMD. And the quadruples are working towards doing it a 5th time and a 6th time because it just never stops, guys. The work never stops. If you love doing what you're doing, why would you stop? Is Tom Cruise still making movies? Yes. Is Tom Hanks still making movies? Is Meryl Streep still making movies? Yes. Why? Because they get paid a lot of money to do it and they love doing it. So get it out. Could you imagine Meryl Streep goes, I'm not going to be an actor anymore. Now I want to be a director. Could you imagine that? That would be, and they're going to go, Meryl, no disrespect, but you're a great actress, but you're not a director. Your job is not to direct the movie. Your job is to act in your movie. Lead by example. Now, again, when there are thousands and thousands of people on your team, you're going to spend some time in management mode. But you still, at that point, should be spending 50 to 80% of your time in phase 1. Phase 3 and phase 4 should never happen. And phase 3 and phase 4 happen, that's cool. But I'm going to tell you this, you're 90 days away from your results. So everything in our business has a delay. So there's no immediate results. So again, if you've been out of shape for 37 years, you go to the gym on January 1st, you start running on treadmill, you start eating all the right things, you start lifting weights. On January 8th, do you look different? No. On February 1st, do you look different? Very slightly. But in 90 days, right around April 1st, give or take, you start to see a substantial difference if you've been consistent for 90 days. Same thing in our business. You've been in the business for 3 months, you've been goofing off doing nothing. That doesn't count. When you start doing the right things, about 90 days of consistently doing at least one presentation every day, going to the events, reading a book or listening to an audio tape every day, constantly, you do all the things you're supposed to do, then about 90 days later, you see a better result. That's the way it is. Don't get discouraged during those 90 days. That's amateur city. Keep going. Well, here's my point. So let's say you're on a roll. You've done everything the right way for 90 days, but now you decide to go into lazy mode. You decide to go into phase 3 or phase 4. Okay, cool. First 2 weeks after that, here's what's really funny. I've literally seen this happen to people. So they work. Everything's going great. Everyone's following your example. And then all of a sudden they go, man, I'm burned out. So they take 2 weeks off. Now, if you have been working for 5 years and everything's great and you take 2 weeks off, is it going to affect anything? No, as a matter of fact, sometimes your check is even higher 2 weeks later because of all that momentum you built. So then you go, man, I took some time off and my check went up. Let's take more time off. Let's take more time. Well, guess what? About 6 weeks into the you being lazy thing, you can start feeling a bit of a shift. All of a sudden, some of your people are also saying, wow, I need a break too. I'm so glad we're taking a break. Guess what? 90 days from now, all of a sudden your check's about half of what it used to be. You're 90 days away from your results. So it's about doing the same thing, doing the right thing. Again, guys, I'm really sorry this is the way the world works. Go back to the gym for a minute. You're out of shape. You've never been in shape. So you go crazy working so hard, 2, 3, 4 years, get in great shape. Then if you stop going to the gym and you start eating like crap, it doesn't take very long for you to go all the way back to where you were in the beginning. In order to be successful long term, you have to practice the disciplines long term. So let me go to my next point. My next point is, what are your habits? One of the best books I was ever turned on to was a book called The Greatest Salesman in the World. Now, I read that book because it was a sales book. At the time, I was selling cookware in China and crystal door to door. I want to be a better salesperson. They gave it to me. I had no idea the real value of that book. It's a story. It's one of those books like Who Moved My Cheese or something. It's a story. The Alchemist, it's a story. So it's not bullet points and step 1, step 2. It's really cool. It's a story about a young man back in biblical times, way back when he was selling garments, and he wanted to be a great salesman. He wanted to be wealthy and have a family and take care of his family and stuff. A young guy, and he wanted to be great. So he sought out, masters who could teach him and train him, and he finally came across this one guy, and he's like, well, you seem to be the one person every, years ago, I was that hungry young man, and someone gave me these 10 scrolls, and if these are the scrolls, will make you the greatest salesman in the world. You just read one scroll every day. There were 10 scrolls. So again, the book goes on, he reads the scrolls. Well, here's the catch. You can read the whole book in one day, easy, but then the homework is to go back to each of those scrolls, which is, 3, 4, 5 pages long, and read that one scroll every day for 30 days when you get up first thing in the morning and when you go to bed. So again, if you've never done this, get the book and do it. You will be shocked by the transformation if you do it the right way. And then after 30 days with scroll 1, you go to scroll 2, scroll 3, scroll 4. So it may take you a year almost to read the book the right way, but when it's done, what it does is it changes your habits. Aristotle said, we are what we repeatedly do. What are you doing every day? What are your habits? If you have good health habits, you're in great shape and you're healthy. If you have bad health, if you smoke and overeat, never exercise, those are bad habits. Eventually they catch up to you. If you work out every day, you eat clean, you focus on nutrition, then you're going to be in good shape. That's just as simple as it gets. So what are your habits for your business? Are you lazy? Are you doing a presentation when you feel like it? Are you going to training and reading a book when you feel like it? And most of the time you don't feel like it, so therefore you have very low activity. And you somehow think you're going to get wealthy because you're in the right place at the right time? You got to be kidding me. Even if you're on the right track, if you just stand there, you're probably going to get run over by a train. There's no point in being in the right place at the right time if you're not going to do anything. Ray Kroc, I'm sure you've heard of this before. Ray Kroc, who founded McDonald's, said to be successful, you have to be in the right place at the right time. You have to realize you're there. That's a big one. And then you have to take massive action. So what kind of massive action are you taking? Now, again, if you won't go to bed unless you've done one presentation minimum every day, that's a really good habit. If you're spending 20 to 30 minutes every day reading a book or listening to a podcast or going to The Advantage and watching one of our videos, every day you're working on your skill set, you're working on your mindset, then that's a really good habit. And here's the bottom line. The world is fair. One of the things we teach at our journey training is imagine standing in front of a mirror and you haven't bathed in a month and you get pissed off that the mirror is treating you unfairly by showing back this mirror doesn't like me. That's why I look like crap. No, you look like crap because of the image you're projecting into the mirror. The mirror is not going to color it up and make you look great if you look like crap. Well, we reap what we sow. Could you imagine planting corn and expecting to get potatoes? You reap what you sow. So what are you reaping? Are you reaping lazy? Well, great, then you're going to grow lazy. Are you reaping excuses? Hey, great, you're going to get excuses. You have got to do the work. How many ways, how many years can I bang this into your head? Whatever Jedi mind trick you need to play with yourself, you need to do minimum one presentation every day, but that's not enough. You really, if you want to have big success, do 3 presentations every day. Now, when I say every day, I don't mean every day. Of course, there's going to be days where you don't do any. It's going to be, maybe you don't work on a Sabbath, so you can take, I don't know, 50 days out of the year right there. But if you work 300 of the 365 days in a year, you do 1 presentation, or you do 3 whatever your number is, then at the end of the year, you're going to have a certain amount of success. You just are. That's just the way it is, because the universe is fair. You're going to reap what you sow. Now, different people have different talent levels. The guy standing next to you may have more sales at the end of the year, but the point is, don't worry about them. Be like a horse with blinders on and just look at you and your success. And if you do what you're supposed to do, then at the end of the year, you're going to be a lot better off if you develop good habits. So again, this is one of those things, and I love at The View, most of you, I'm sure, have been to View. If you haven't, instead of teaching like this, we actually do short Broadway-style plays, and we act things out. One of the things we do from time to time is an airline pilot. Think about being an airline pilot. You're flying up way, way up there. So are there any signs saying Tokyo this way, New York that way? There's no stops. There's no directional signs, right? And when you're flying, I'm sure most of the time, at least half the time you're flying, it's dark out. So you can't trust your vision. You have to trust your gauges that are in your cockpit. So how high up in the air are you? What speed are you going? How much fuel do you have left? How fast are you descending on it? There's all these different gauges. And you know what? They're all important. When you need that gauge, it's important. What are the gauges in your business? So the gauges in your business should be something like this. How many people are you inviting? Another gauge has to be, how many presentations are you doing? Another gauge has to be, how many people are you getting to the company events? Wow, is that an important gauge, guys? Go worldwide and find me someone who promotes the events, gets a lot of team members to the events, and they're not having success. You're going to have a hard time finding anyone in the world who is aggressively promoting events, getting 20, 30, 50, 80, 100 people to the events and not having success, because our events really work. Inviting really works. Presenting really works. The only thing that won't work is if you're not doing those things consistently. And again, would you want a pilot who checked their gauges occasionally? Or you want them to look at the gauges all the time? You want to make sure you're staying the right height in the air all the time. So there's no let up if you want to be successful. Again, same kind of message. When does this end? I guess it ends when you die. Just keep going and keep going and keep going. I love doing what I do. People ask me, you're going to retire? I'm like, why would I retire? I love what I do. I just heard Paul McCartney being interviewed the other day. 78 years old, talking about COVID and all this stuff. He said he can't wait to go back on the road. Now, you know the way this is going. He might be 80 years old when he gets a tour again. He's going to be touring because that's what he does. He's not going, oh my gosh, I got to go play guitar again. I have to go sing again. He loves doing it. So get out of your head. You're going to race to a certain spot and then retire. I don't know who gave you the impression that's the way to do this business, but let me tell you the way to do this business. Let me quote our founder, Wayne Nugent. You want to work until you're exhausted. Pause. Go ahead and Google the speech that Vince Lombardi gave his team about being a champion, about being a winner. It ends with, there's no greater feeling in the world to, after the game, lying on the turf, exhausted, knowing you've given it everything you had, victorious. Give it everything you have and you win. There's probably not a better feeling in the world. So work till you're exhausted. Now let's unpause. And once you work till you're exhausted, then play until you're bored. Because you'll get bored. For those of you who think, I've had, a significant amount of money for a long time. I don't have to work. I could definitely reduce my lifestyle a little bit and not have to work at all. But I like my lifestyle and I love working. So why would I stop? Here's my point. The point is you will get bored at some point. You can only play golf so many days. You can only sleep late so many days. You can only lay by the beach so many days. So work till you're exhausted, then play until you're bored. Then work till you're exhausted, then play until you're bored and work till that should be what you do the rest of your life. Now, you know what most people in the real world do? They work their ass off their whole life. And what do they get to show for it at the end? They don't get to work till they're exhausted and then play. They get to work till they're exhausted. You know what they do after that? They keep working till they're more exhausted. Keep working till... See, making a lot of money here, you're not going to probably work a lot harder than you have in the past. You just have to learn our skill set. Obviously, by putting in even more effort, it increases your chance of being successful. That's just common sense. But the reality here is at least there's a possibility. You can leverage other people's efforts. So it's possible for you to work till you're exhausted and then play for a while. But then come back and work hard and work hard, and then play for a while. If you get to spend the rest of your life doing that, that's not such a bad way to go, is it? So again, guys, we have got a company, and let me finish up by saying this to you. The world will never be exactly the same after this is over. We are going to be in a great position for a while. During a recession, I know Matt trained on this during United, during the recession, is a great time for network marketers, okay? If your product has value, product sales are going to go up. And guess what? During a depression, people need to escape. So travel, you may think it's illogical that travel is going to go up, but people are going to travel no matter what. They'll throw it on their credit card. They want to travel. So our products are going to be just fine, but recruiting efforts should go up because a lot of closed-minded people can't afford to be closed-minded anymore. So they're going to have to take a look at what we're doing. So we have a real opportunity right now to go crazy for a season. Now, I don't know how long the season's going to last. Let's say it's 6 months to a year where we're in this recessionary time. Maybe it's 18 months. I'm telling you, every hour you work now is worth far more hours down the road. Meaning that when you're in a non-recessionary time, you may have to work 10 hours to equal the productivity of 1 hour right now. So what if you work your max hours for as long as this recession ends, and while everyone else may be struggling, we are getting more and more and more successful. Wayne Nugent taking over as our CEO is the best thing in my mind that's ever happened. We finally have our owner and founder steering the ship. He's got Eddie Head right at his side, other key executives right at his side. We are ready to make a serious run, but it's going to be on you to see how much of this bounty, how much of this harvest is going to go into your coffers? How much money are you going to put in your bank account? Because the company is going to turn a corner and go hard for the next 2 years. The question is, when we get back to $1 billion in sales, when we go up to $2 and $3 billion in sales annually, what part of that is going to be yours? A lot of that's going to be determined by, are you going to take what I just said seriously? Are you going to build a relationship with your people? Are you going to build great habits? Are you going to outwork everybody else on your team? What I shared on this video, listen to it again and again and again, as often as you can, because this is great information, and our company is going to be successful. With or without you, with or without me, the company's going to be successful. So why don't we make sure we both do everything we can over the next 2 years to give it our full effort so we can increase our financial success while we help the company become the greatest company in the industry. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being a VIP at United, and I look forward to seeing you in person at boot camp.